hard to believe we are now in our 5th week of doing rhythm and resilience. In the month of April, we did it 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, starting April 6th. And it was so much fun. And I heard from a lot of you that it was helping you kind of navigate through this time. And it was helping me navigate through this time. And so we decided we would continue it through the next few weeks of twice a week, Mondays, Motivational Mondays, and Fun Fridays. And then at the end of the month, as we have Memorial Day weekend, we're going to go to Wisdom Wednesdays, and we'll be doing a live podcast going forward now. And so this will actually become the podcast show. You guys will get to hear it preview. You'll hear it a week before it actually comes live the following week. And so that's what we've decided. And so I just love seeing your faces. So thanks for those of you that have your cameras on. If you feel like you need to be doing other things and not have your camera on because you didn't do your hair today, I'm cool with that too. So here we are gathering our small changes, big shifts that help us create rhythm and resilience, not during just these times, but just during life. I find that the more I get into a rhythm, the better resilience I have. And the more resilience I have, I can weather the storms of life. So I want to start today with a quote from Pastor Adam Hamilton. And I loved his FEAR acronym, if you guys remember that. Face your fears. Examine your assumptions in light of the facts. And I believe that a lot of us are trying to figure out what the facts really are here. What's fascinating about being a bridge, my assignment from the universe is to be a bridge between traditional and non-traditional medicine. I clearly got that assignment about 22 years ago. And so what's fascinating, people think that I might be one side or the other. And so they send me, I get both sides. And so I have to use my personality to try to figure out how do I distill the truth. And I'm going to tell you, I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. So examine your assumptions in light of the facts. The next one, A, attack your anxiety with action. And today we're going to take some action with my guest. And then, of course, probably what you're a master at, Kristen, is release your cares to God. And so we want to be mindful and intentional, but also release our cares. So today on Fun Friday, I asked my friend Kristen to join us. And Kristen, we go back about 8 years, 9 years. Do you think on that? I know it's at least 7. But Kristen is a writer and a full-time stay-at-home mama, and we know that is definitely a double full-time job. She has a bachelor's in marketing and communication, and I love this, and a PhD in perspective. The former radio professional recently found a space for the real of mamahood, singlehood, marriedhood, and adulthood in her new podcast. KB provides a safe place to discuss all seasons, reasons, and walks of life. She's very Christ-centered, laughable version of the discussions with vulnerability, with a heavy dose of comic realness. A podcast village to trust. And Kristen Brust is now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So hey, thanks for joining me, my friend KB.
Hi.
I'm not used to calling you KB.
Oh, I can change that too.
No, I'm okay calling you KB. I'll just have to get used to it.
It's just plugged in on it. I wish you could see my setup here because you're actually in a butterfly holder. It's Love's. She's been using this for ABC Mouse. That's how stay-at-home mom this has gotten. So.
Oh, that's great. So first of all, when did you start your podcast and what kind of fun are you having?
I'm obsessed with it. It's so much fun. I started it January 11th at 1:11, which was very symbolic. We lost a baby between our two. And the first time I got to see Legend, which is our rainbow baby, our son, was on 1:11 at 1:11. So I figured it was a timestamp to me of like hope and grace and renewed faith. And so that was the date and moment it launched.
Well, for those of you that are listening live today, Kristen is like a bonus daughter. Yes, I'm old enough to be your mother, but we are very connected. Our souls are very connected. It's crazy, isn't it?
Oh, I love you so much. It's absurd how much I love you. You and Kristen.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, did we meet because of Allison?
We did, because we met because I have a crooked back.
Well, we're not going to get personal, but we met because of your friend Allison, who I met because of my friend Tara, who I met because of my friend Sheridan. And that's what's so great about life. Actually, I'm going to give you a little preview. I'm going to be sharing something very personal and fun on Mother's Day. And I'm going to just give a dip of it with you. But this is my taped up eulogy that I did for Dr. John Lakin, who was my chiropractic mentor. And I love I did an acronym for the word dream. And so when I did his eulogy, I actually had a picture that had a quote on it. And then I taped, this is really homemade, which is not my style because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but it's just so personal. But I had to kind of do it last minute, and I had to do with what I had, and I couldn't call my guys out. On here it says, always remember who, always remember who. And that's the A in dream. And so Kristen, I just remember who connected us, and I also remember how lovely it is to always get a chance to see you when I'm in Nashville. So talk about your Nashville life. How did you get to Nashville?
Holy mackerel. Well, I ended up in Kansas City. I worked part-time for a radio station in Kansas City, Q104, and was doing a show with them for Cassidy Pope at the Power and Light District, and met the president of a record label in Nashville. And we hit it off, and it was a quick, rapid fire into this new life. I worked and lived in Kansas City, worked for the label in Nashville for about a year and a half. And in my first CMA week, I fell head over heels for an artist, which I said I'd never do. Don't we all? I wonder how many Nashville wives have said that. And it was instant soul connection. And so after 2 weeks, I broke up with him because I decided I didn't want to date an artist and I wasn't going to be part of that. I knew what that looked like and I wasn't interested. And then we made it 24 hours. And now we have 2 kids. So that's how quickly that happened. But Nashville, I've been in Nashville now for 5 years, I think. Yeah, I think it's 5. So really, I've always wanted to be here. It's funny how the universe works because it wasn't the path I thought I'd take, but here I am. So it's great.
Well, we started before people got on. We were talking about kind of the artist's life and talking about tourism, and so share with a little bit about what was your biggest stress before COVID?
Getting out of my house. It seems like everything's in alignment still. It's been, I think I'll say this in a family perspective, our biggest challenge is always finding time together. That's been kind of the story since we've met. I was always traveling. He was always traveling. The year our daughter was born, my husband's career kind of took off. And so he had like 280 dates away the first year she was born. So we have lived our lives very separate, trying to stay as connected and mindful, as intentional as we can. But it's been really, really, it's been hard. And for someone like me, who's a little extra deep and extra lovey, that is hard to not have your people all in one space. So, the biggest challenge before this is probably getting family time. And so that's where I keep trying to sink into, even in the frustration and the exhaustion and just all of the extra layers that this has added. The one thing I try to keep anchoring in is we have waited, in our little journey 4 years for time together. So, and now we have plenty of it. Now, the first week was more of an orientation, like this is where we keep pots and pans and this is where we welcome home, And now we're just starting to try and it's interesting to use the word rhythm. Obviously in a musical household, that word is used a lot, but for us, finding the rhythm of the day-to-day it has taken some time. We're 2 months in. We essentially quarantined ourselves March 11th. So we've been in and we haven't done carry out or anything. Just Legend's a little more high risk for respiratory issues. So we've been super cautious, and it's interesting what you learn, I kept a little log of week 3, week 4, week 5. And it's, now I feel like we're starting to finally find the rhythm, and I could stay on this call all day because it's allowing me to stay away from them, and he's taking them.
You're finding your rhythm right now.
Yeah.
It's interesting as I've been doing some of my corporate work. What's been fascinating for me, I've just been able to shift my corporate work, 95% of it just to Zoom. And what I like about that is I actually can see faces. So everybody's got a front row seat as long as their camera's on. So that's interesting you share that. So I'm thinking about your journey, and I'm thinking about Preston's career taking off and then getting this little bit of time in between. So is he even going to the studio or anything like that? Or is he just hanging out with you guys?
Everything has been through Zoom. So he's doing Zoom writes, and they have an album out right now. So just writing for the most part. They've done a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of Instagram lives. So everything is kind of like what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about I've seen, and you know me, I have this much musical talent, about that much. And so but I have heard that a lot of artists are doing concerts from their home, or I'm not sure a concert's the right word. Is that the right word?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So has he done some of that?
He has done a couple of live. He actually just did one for Faith Social, which is a new handle that just launched, and they did a song called God on their current one. They did that yesterday, so that's pretty cool.
Say the song again because you cut out.
God Thing.
God Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to play that.
Yeah, it's great. And they did that yesterday. I think it's just really neat to see. The one thing that I've enjoyed, and especially like, I've always admired and loved you. That's a forever. But it's fun to watch creative people get innovative because it's just in you. So it's like you're so used to hurdles and getting things thrown in front of you that it's like, okay, then we'll just do this and we'll keep going, and finding the path it's interesting to watch our industry try to find its traction and the creative people, like you can't stop that when it's in someone. So it's fun for me to watch, like, I sneak to our bonus room to do a podcast once a week, or I try, and, to see him lock himself away in a room with the Zoom rights. And once in a while, little people come in and disturb it. And just, it's kind of merging both worlds, which is nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about post-COVID, how it'll shift. And that's when people are like, I don't, if your camera's on and people walk in, great. It's just what it is. Sometimes we'll see when I'm actually doing some corporate stuff that the spouse will kind of peek their head in and listen for a little bit. And it's just real. And you talk about that in your bio about being real. And I've always found you to be real. And Vanessa, before you came on, she was mentioning what a great writer you are. And she said she should be writing. I'm like, well, she kind of is, but I didn't want to burst your bubble and not tell you. So what are you most excited about in your journey right now?
I think just the amount of growth and just the ability to just see how God's moving pieces for us. I mean, nothing stops the music industry. Nothing. It's so bittersweet how I feel. It's like, it's this relationship where you want to love it, but then sometimes you just hate it because it is all the things. The common thread Preston and I have has been music. That's how we met. That's how we fell in love. It's the thing, like, I understand it. I give more grace than it sometimes deserves. And to watch the world stop has been really, I mean, you can't help but go, okay, what are you trying to do here? What are you rearranging? What are you resetting in our lives? So that's been really interesting. I think too, him learning my job has been a really eye-opening and good thing for our marriage too. I've essentially anyone with kids became a stay-at-home mom in March. And I've been doing it for 4 years. And it was a really hard adjustment for me because I hung up a career and a degree and all the things I had worked 32 years for to stay at home. And it's a blessing, but there's parts of you that still want to be, you can't help but just be the person you are. So it's been, I think, good for us because now I'm getting excited to actually have him home so that I can start to learn to carve out the space to do the things. I write most of the blogs and pieces that I've written from bed on my iPhone while I'm laying at the club at night, or it's so to intentionally create time for me to do that stuff has never really been an option, and now it kind of is, which is, it's just a little enlightening for me, I think. And to watch him, I mean, today I took a picture I have to post later. He was on the treadmill, and our little boy just does not want him on they want you just with them, and we're trying to get in some exercise, and we're just trying. I have a picture of Preston holding Legend while he's on the treadmill. And I'm like, this is life. This is stay-at-home mom life, So it's been interesting.
Well, you mentioned a couple words there, and I'm a word nerd. So we got celebrate, guide, connect, hope, which are kind of the foundation of this small changes, big shifts movement. So we're celebrating you. We're celebrating our friendship, celebrating how you've been rearranging your life and listening. Anyhow, so I'm thinking about this word celebrate and how you're rearranging and how you're listening to spirit. And so how can people learn how to dial that in? Because you are truly one of these young women that you don't move unless spirit guides you. I feel that from you. I don't know if that's true, but that's my feeling of observing you. So talk about when our lives are being rearranged and how you turn how to listen.
It's been tricky. I'm really headstrong. So, and an A-type. So I think the word allow was my 19 word. I know there's a lot of people who do a word a year, but 2019 was the first time I couldn't make a vision board in my life. I've always been very clear, very direct. I knew exactly what I wanted, what I was going after. And I think half of that was just being finally content in a lot of pieces of life. But some of that was just being ready to just go down the path that the bricks were being laid for me instead of me laying the bricks, because I was a little tired. So I just focus on listening. I mean, I do something every morning that I think, I mean, a lot of people do meditation, and I call it my morning still. Sometimes it's not still, sometimes it's not in the morning, but I try really hard to take a few minutes in a devotional or Bible and just kind of let my mind go, my heart go, and let God guide where I need to go in it for the day, and just get full a little bit. There's a direct correlation for me when I start to miss that morning still too many days in a row. And then just the disconnect and the discontent that I feel, and just the anxiousness. I do have a lot of anxiety, just kind of a naturally anxious person. I think that just the way I grew up has like fed that quite a bit. So I'm trying to do a hard rewire with that. And I don't know. I think a lot of us mistake our own voice for the lead voice. And if you can allow the still and the real quiet, there's something that's going to speak to you, whatever you believe that to be, higher power, universe. For me, it's always God. But there's a way that I can move if I listen close enough, and it feels like I'm going with the waves instead of pushing the waves back with the pitchfork. And so that's the difference. I know I've started to be able to discern the difference between a challenge and resistance. And a challenge I can meet, but resistance is there sometimes I feel for my protection. So the discernment, the listening, just following that for me has been the biggest difference, I think.
There's a lot in what you just said. I'm thinking about the resistance, and some of us probably are feeling resistance in our life right now. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's part of the universe or God talking to us. And I know that when I feel that and I'm just pushing, I just get exhausted. And so it's fascinating. I'm working from a new home office, and give a shout out to my guy, Zach. He came in today and just made sure the sound was right and just worked on a lot of little details. And then my feng shui person, Robin Stevens, said, okay, we got to do this, this, and this energetically so I could listen better. And so that I figure any noise, any resistance I can get out of the way. For me, it's noise. Any noise I get out of the way. I mean, not noise like the people talking, but just noise of the to-do list, noise of doing things that are not in my lane, little things like that. And so I need to give a shout out to my team. What are you finding fun about your podcast you're doing right now?
Oh, I love it so much. I just missed it. I did radio for 7 years in Michigan, almost 7 years, and then did a little bit in Kansas City. And it has always felt like home to me. It's interesting because I feel most comfortable there, most cozy. It's just like it's just in a rhythm. It feels like going with the flow. And I've missed it. And then what's interesting, and I'm learning in all of this, is I have always been afraid to do anything on my own. Always thought I needed to be. I've always been a co-host or a sidekick, and so I always assumed, not my words, but I've always assumed that I had to do it with someone. And so I'm going into a studio here in Nashville. I drive down, we get in the studio. It's so fun, and I feel it. And there's the microphones, and just the quiet and the stale coffee smell of a radio station does something to me that brings me back to like being 19 and like having hope, endless romantic hope about the industry. So I would do that every week, and it was just my freedom. Well, then this hits, and I can't go to that studio anymore. So all of a sudden, I'm left with the real essentials of what this should be anyways. My connection, my voice, all things that I had found ways to pad or make, it's interesting that the gift, if you call it that, and I still am having some trouble discerning. Like I have a lot of self-doubt when it comes to like, well, who would want to listen to me for 30 minutes by myself, so that's been tricky. But then I go, okay, like that's a lie. And, and I'm not going to listen to that kind of dark energy. And so I just do what I do. And listen, everyone's got a choice. They don't like me, they just turn me off. That's the worst that could happen, But I've always, I think it's been so great to just feel like it's the 30 minutes in a week that I feel most like myself. And so that every time I do that, I drink hot tea, which is, I don't ever get to drink anything hot anymore. Just with the busyness of the ages that we're raising 4 and 2, that's chaotic. And there'll be a day where I drink hot tea and I mourn the loss of the chaos, but so it's great. I sit and I get to just, it's so centering to me, and it feels like I get to connect, which is the strangest thing to say because there's no one in the room with me. And I don't know if my jokes are funny anymore because I can't look to the left and see, TJ produces for me and I can't look at her and see if I'm funny. And it's just all the things you've had to rely on before for like the outside validation. It's deepening the connection, up and forward connection for me because there's no other connection to make. So it's been really enlightening. And I just love it. It's so fun to me.
So you get on, you share your ideas. So you're not actually doing an interview. It's funny because I do mostly interviews and I just have started doing a few shows where it's by myself. But to me, that's kind of just interesting because I really feed off other people. That's why I love seeing faces. So when we send out the stuff pre corporate talk, I'm doing a rhythm and resilience series and a shift experience for corporate. We actually ask people if you feel comfortable, put on your cameras because that energy I feed off of, and I think it's probably because of doing one-on-one work with clients for so many years. So that what I'm hearing you say is know yourself.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
And I'm in a room by myself. And I've learned, like, we're working on doing a couple guests in the upcoming weeks, but I thought it's not going to get lost on me that the one thing I've been afraid of all of the time, I mean, I could just stop and not put out the podcast. I mean, it just started in January. I don't even know. I don't keep track of the numbers. I literally do it for the way it feels and where the words land. I've enjoyed watching where my words land with certain people and just, there's a woman in New Zealand that listens now, and it's just beyond me that how beautiful technology can be for that reason. But now we're sharing stories, and I know about rainbow babies from people that haven't even told their husband yet. And it's just all these really beautiful avenues and paths. But the one thing that doesn't get lost on me is all this time I was scared to be alone, and here I am alone and still doing it, and still managing to create content. And I won't create just to create. No one wants to listen to someone talk just for the heck of it. But I do miss my people. So I know that's definitely a part of this, but I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. And you're allowing me a space to prove that to myself, which is interesting.
Allowing is such a key word. So for the people listening to the call live today, this is a great time to put in your questions in the chat section. Kind of how we roll now. I know most of you have been on a show or two already. So I want to shift to the word guidance. As I shift to the word guidance, I want to talk about rainbow. You call it rainbow babies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for our listeners that may not know, what's a rainbow baby?
So if you've lost a baby and then you have a baby after that loss, they call those rainbow babies. So essentially the colors after a storm.
The colors after a storm. So I've never heard that, but out of your mouth. I've only heard it from you, not anybody else. So what about people that just have a loss, have a miscarriage or stillbirth, they're not called rainbow babies unless they have a baby afterwards.
Well, the baby after is the rainbow. So Legend's the rainbow.
Oh, Legend's the rainbow baby. Okay. You're teaching me. I love this. So help people. Let's say that somebody on the call has a daughter, granddaughter, or maybe you've experienced a loss of a baby. Can you share some of the wisdom that you learned through that and some guidance, just as snapshots?
Really important piece of like my whole story at this point. It's that to me, it was January 17 of 17 when we lost. And we were 12 weeks along, never saw a heartbeat. And it was really exceptionally hard to watch my body not be able to let go of the baby. Like my mind and heart were so tied to it that we were told we would lose. And it was, almost 2 full weeks later before anything even happened. So it has shaped everything about what I'm doing, who I am, repurposed. Sometimes those kinds of, I think there's a deepening of a heart when you mourn the loss of someone you weren't allowed to meet. And I'll probably cry.
I'm hugging you, sister. A big old heart-to-heart hug right now.
I usually can keep it together a little bit, but the loss part, I'll get it together. This week, I actually guided a friend through a loss, and it is astounding to me that it could be, for me, 3 years later, and a whole new person later. I mean, I've got this son who is giving me a run for my money on the daily. And I still, the minute I go back to talking to her through the loss, I feel it in a millisecond. I'm back in the doctor's office. I'm back in that moment that's all foggy, but so clear at the same time. And, you can just sense we tried I feel spoiled even saying this, but we tried our first try at having a baby. We got pregnant the very first try. So when we were pregnant the second time, I don't know if I thought I was going to be some like reigning champ or something, but I just kind of came into it thinking, okay, this is what we do. And I know how to do this and this is comfortable. And to the silence of an ultrasound tech and the uncertainty that you can just kind of sense something's off. And then I have the best doctor ever. Dr. Amanda Barrett is now a friend of mine, but at the time just walked alongside me with that. That kind of loss, it makes you love deeper, and it makes you love braver, because I described my pregnancy with Legend, who's our rainbow baby. He's 2. I described it as cautiously optimistic, and I still have this scarcity mentality about him that kind of lingers over me. And that was triggered again when COVID came up, because he does have some respiratory issues. We've kind of struggled with that. And we're a pretty holistic family. We prefer not to do like medicine if we don't have to. I also have rods in my back, so I believe in modern medicine, and I think doctors are brilliant. But if we can avoid it, that's what we try to do first. And so the COVID chapter has triggered something for me, because I always feel like I don't get to keep him. That's been kind of this haunting feeling I've had. And I think it is just, the trauma of losing the baby. And I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but I can tell you that it shapes a life. It shapes a path. I wrote this piece because writing for me has always been therapy. It's just something I've always had to do since I can remember, like 8 years old, writing these really deep poems in my bedroom. And I wrote a piece 6 weeks after we lost, and I promised myself that I would never change anything about it, because everything I was reading was from women that were on the other side of miscarriage or had their rainbow babies already. And I was like, where's the really, I'm trying to think of a word that is not a cuss word, but where's the really like nasty part of this when you're in the thick of it? Where is the honesty about that? Because this hurts and it sucks and it's not fair, and you feel like your body has failed you, and you feel like you failed you somehow, and you failed your husband or your family, and it's just it's a lot of emotion. So I wrote the piece, and I promised myself I'll never change a thing. And then I tried to get it published, but I didn't want it to be connected to my husband, because he is in the music industry. I didn't want to be a wife of a country artist. I wanted to be a woman who lost. It didn't want it to be a headline. I wanted it to come right down like ground level and just start like going straight into the hearts of women without the publicity or I don't know. There was something that just seemed not pretty to me about making, because it wasn't about getting attention. It was about getting those words to the people that needed it. And that's where I was like, okay, how do I avoid it becoming a headline? So I tried to get it published a couple times and it didn't work. And I just kind of was like, you know what? Now's not the time. And you can't make a marketing plan when God has a plan, and that's the resistance. So I hit the resistance, and I was like, this isn't a challenge. This is just it's not the time. And so I let it sit for a year. And then finally, a girlfriend of mine who's pretty well known, she's an actress and a singer, lost a baby. And she said, I need the link. And I said, I don't have the link. I never published it. And she was like, it needs to go somewhere. I need your words. I'm losing my baby. And so I just got small with God, and I published it that night on my own blog, which I thought I'd never do. I wanted 16 degrees of separation between me and the story. And there I was, and it blew up and got viral and crazy. And that's a lot of my followers came from that. So.
Well, we're going to get the link, and we'll share that in the downloadable file that we share. So what we do is we do the conversation, and Eleanor's doing a great job capturing some of the wisdom from you to share with the downloadable tomorrow, and we'll share that link as well, because all of us know somebody, and of course I see it not every day but every week, and the struggle, people losing their baby, and or maybe the other side of the struggle is not being able to get pregnant, and you feel like your body's failing you or you're failing your spouse, and we can go on and on. But it is Fun Friday, so we are going to shift the conversation to more fun. So talk about what are some of the fun things you're doing with your kids right now while you guys are home, because you are a fun mama.
I am fun. We try to live it at a level 11 here. One thing that kids have taught me is that organization is for fools at this point, and I have just not to be a fool anymore. So I used to be really OCD and very organized. And so once I've let go of that piece, we started to get really fun around here. There is an Instagram account that a lot of us follow, a busy toddler, and she gives a lot of really fun ideas. But she isn't raising Will Ferrell like I am, and so that's where it becomes a little challenging. So right now we just try to create PRs for how long Legend can last in the given activity before he takes the activity, makes it his own, and destroys the house. So we've a lot of there's these big Rubbermaid bins that she fills with soap and water and pom-poms. So I ordered the pom-poms off of Amazon. So there's 150 of those around my house right now. And it's just, we just try to make everything an adventure. They're such a gift. I don't want to overly romanticize motherhood, because it's really, really hard. But at the core of it, it's really a privilege. I think that's one thing, that's one way to transition it from the lost talk to this talk is, not everybody gets to do that. And not everybody gets to be a mom that wants to be a mom. Some people don't want to, and that's fine too. There's days where I miss my sweet apartment in Kansas City and a double feature with Thai food and a bottle of wine that I didn't have to share. But it's, there's this really cool way of looking at motherhood when you're like, man, I get to me, they're not my kids. They're God's children, and I get to steward their walk. So how lucky am I that I get 2 walks to steward? And I have to keep the boundaries, because I have to save Legend from one bad idea after the next that he has. He has this 20-month brain, but this 3-year-old body that can execute really bad ideas really fast. And I feel like I need to invent an indoor helmet, and that should be like that. Maybe that's my million-making COVID revelation, to save him from himself. One bad idea after the next. But it's been so cool to just go, okay, well, what if we did just make a mess right now? I know that kind of hurts my heart to even say it to you guys, but we do. And it's like, okay, soapy water's everywhere. Well, essentially I just mop the floor. So that's a double win. And we just have fun with it. It's like, they are so cool and so fun, and their ideas are great, and everything you do makes you a hero. I have this bracelet on, this super cheap, probably 2-cent bracelet, and it's our best friend bracelet that she gave me. And I'm like, when she still wants to be my best friend, we're winning, We're doing lots of drawing, and we do a lot of popsicles in the shower. That's one part where the stickiness starts to really get at my recovering OCD. So I just strip them down and give them popsicles and throw them in the shower. And I'm like, if they melt, they melt. If it's a mess, it's a mess. Just trying to think outside the box. I had a really difficult childhood in a lot of ways, and I just refuse to let that be the cycle that repeats itself. So anything fun. Plus, I'm married to a Leo who's an artist, and so he's just crazy and fun and creative anyway.
He is fun, that's for sure. And your kids definitely are having an adventure. Of course, I follow you on social, and I've got a chance to meet the kids, and love. So when you think about, actually, I'm going to ask a question first, and I'm going to come to the next question. This is a great time for you guys to ask your questions, and I'm going to actually help answer them. So Patricia asked, does rainbow baby apply to adopted babies after miscarriage?
Oh yeah, I say rainbow is any. I have said that the rainbow will find any way the rainbow finds you, because there's a lot of moms. I actually work with an organization now in Nashville that's centered completely around mama healthcare, and the mental care around moms, all walks of motherhood. So whether you don't physically even have a child here yet, whether you're in the adoptive process, infertility, and I have said rainbows will find you, and a rainbow. Listen, I just children. Any way you get your children. I have one of my best friends, just her sister was her surrogate, and it has been so cool to watch that be front row for that adventure, because it's eye-opening and beautiful what family is willing to do. And that rainbow, oh, she's stunning. It's so fun. There's a different light that comes with the rainbow. It's interesting.
It is Mother's Day weekend.
It
So
is.
Eleanor, thanks for that reminder. You know this. I have no biological children, but I have many children, and I'm going to start calling y'all my rainbow children. That's probably what I mean. I need you to help me think of a fun name that doesn't belittle the rainbow children. So I'm not going to do that, but I want your help on that. That's your homework assignment, because I feel you probably know this. You may or may not remember. So I have 10 nieces and nephews, 10 biological, and then I have 5 greats, 1 boy and 4 girls. And my little boy is just starting. My latest little boy is just starting walking. He's 16 months, and his mommy and daddy send me a video about once a week. And he lives in Kansas City. I was at his birth. I was actually at his daddy's birth. I've been at a handful of births my entire career. 2 of them have been, 3 of them have been family, pretty much family members. But my nephew and his son, which is, there's just something magical about that. And that's where you have to kind of listen to the wisdom and wonder why people are giving you this opportunity. I love the front row seat. And you have allowed me, and a lot of people have allowed me to have maybe not the exact front row, but I feel like I'm almost in the front row of witnessing people's lives. And it's such a gift. I want to say thank you for sharing your life with me.
Oh, it's so funny. I carry so many things that you say with me in day-to-day life. Like the perception that life is full over busy, that one has stuck with me. There's so many things where I'm like, it's so honoring to me to even be able to be with you, like to even come on here and talk with you. I'm just like, this is a dream. I love you so much. I mean, it's so thank you for sharing. You've not only aligned me in body, but you've aligned me in spirit and life path so many times. It's incredible.
Well, we've been talking this month that a lot of people have given me great ideas to people to invite in the show, but I love that my life is so full, and I grew up much like you did, and I love that you are repatterning and you're retraining your children, and I'm curious because I'm going to turn this into a Mother's Day episode. It's such a gift to witness people, and when I know some of the backstory, it helps me dig deeper in the connection. So thank you for saying yes when we reached out to you to be on the show, and it was so funny for everybody to be totally transparent. Kristen was supposed to be on the show last Friday. She was going to wrap up our original series. She was one of our first guests. However, Junior Achievement was doing something. They really needed your spot, so we gave your spot to Meredith Suarez. By the way, who's in the middle of she runs an infertility group in Kansas City, so it's a great show for her, and I won't share all of her story, but just a lovely human being. And does anybody doing the 401k online? I'm doing it. They're just doing a lot of education around movement. So that was our talk last week. So we bumped you, not even thinking about Mother's Day. And so that is that divine wisdom. I got those chills. You guys know that I got those chills. That's the divine wisdom of the Holy Spirit moving you. For maybe you coming on the show today. Maybe you've had a daughter, or you've had a granddaughter, or you've had a neighbor that has lost a baby, and they have a new rainbow baby. And I put Jill, who's on the show, just had a new grandbaby, and it's a rainbow baby. And she's actually at her daughter's house helping with their 2-year-old because they just had a new grandbaby. So how cool is that? So let's go to wisdom. So a couple years ago, and Eleanor, let's put the link in there. I actually interviewed my mother on Mother's Day for Mother's Day show.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and Sean's here, and Sean knows I'm a huge fan of the Hoffman process, which is this 7-day process where you kind of go in. For me, you kind of pull out. It's like cleaning your closet out. You pull everything out, and you're like, "Yep, that's me. That's not me. I don't want that anymore." And blah blah blah. And you are able to find freedom, and I was able to find some freedom, and I was able to heal that relationship with my mother and realize my soul picked her mother. And I'm wondering if we're talking to love 25 years from now or 30 years from now, if love would say, oh my gosh, my soul picked the perfect parents for my journey. So when you think about Mother's Day, now that you're a mother, what would you say to your mother?
Well, that.
Sorry, I don't know the question coming out, to be honest.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think I would say I was a fairly good kid. So there's not like a lot of apologizing for rebellious teenage stuff. I've always kind of like punished myself. I've been grounded twice in my life, and I grounded myself one of those times. So I don't have much to apologize for. What I would say probably is more of an act of gratitude for her, because no matter, she was dealing with a lot of layers. There's been a lot of alcohol and drug abuse in our family. And so a lot of times I think I expected her to just be some superhero that could just suddenly be able to see in such clarity with 20/20 vision what was going on. And when you're in the thick of it, knowing what I know now and being educated and being in therapy for so many years, like it's not just, it seemed so obvious and clear to me, which I would also say give credit to God for keeping my lenses the way that they've been. Because there's really no reason for me to have as much faith as I do growing up the way I did. So that's always a testament to me. But I'd probably have more gratitude for her and just thank her for the work that it takes to just do the day-to-day. Both my parents worked full time, and always trying to still find the fun things. Like we did the lights at the zoo and, just certain things. We did volunteer at the Special Olympics once a year. So there was some instilling in there where I have, in the messiness and the muddiness of all the other stuff, had forgotten. So I'm trying to go back in and kind of pull those pieces out lately too, and just go, okay, here's where she was trying to do this, or, the resentment sometimes drowns out the gratitude. So trying to fill the cup more full of gratitude and dilute the rest.
One of the messages I heard a few years ago, what's so great is when you get a chance to be in people's lives, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, if you listen, you hear little nuggets. And the nugget I heard was, Michelle, give from the overflow. And in order to give from the overflow, you've got to be full. You got to have the rest. You've got to have the right fuel. You've got to have the right thoughts. You got to heal your heart. And I'm actually thinking about several mothers in my life right now. And you mentioned faith, and I was not raised in the church either. And so that's part of my coming out piece of this is that, I can accept when you say Buddha or Jesus or God or the universe, because I don't know. And for me, I know that I hear the Spirit. I hear God, whether it's a she or a he, I don't know. But I do know that I can feel it. And I know that we're connected with their soul connections. And as I mentioned earlier, I do believe no matter how tough my childhood is, it led me to where I am now. And so I'm grateful. People will say to me about divorce. And I'm like, you know what? Your kids they'll look at me. My mother was married 4 times by the time I was 17. You know what? I'm okay. I know about being around sexual abuse. Yeah, and you know about sexual abuse, and you know about shift flying through the windows when you have an alcoholic father. So there's stuff that we know, but how do we move on so that we can guide other people and we can also guide ourselves? And even if all you're doing today is being the most loving, kind person you could be. So I think that's what most mothers' dreams is, that they raise a child that's a good, kind, or that's a kind child. What would you say? What's your number one goal? If Love is listening to this interview 20 years from now, what would you want her to know?
I just want her to always feel empowered. I think that's the biggest thing. I think to feel like she has ownership of her feelings and her body and her walk, no matter what it looks like. It was hard for my parents to wrap around. I quit early childhood education to go into communications. And my dad was like, what are you doing? I mean, you could have summers off. He kept saying that to me. You can have summers off. It's like, I just hope she always feels empowered and supported, because she is such a beautiful individual. She's only 4, and the mark she's making already is she's a world changer. And I don't know that she'll lead a march on Washington, but I know that the world is going to be forever changed because she's here. And that's not me saying that I've raised someone. I've just been gifted someone in the honor of stewarding her walk. And I'm interested to see what that takes. But as long as she's always empowered and supported, she can do anything. And that anything is limitless to me.
Well, I like the word empowered, and I love that you shared the story. It reminds me of a story when I opened my first practice in 1992. You weren't even born yet, were you?
I really was. You keep calling me young lady, and I really appreciate that, but I'm pushing 40, and I still consider myself young, but I really don't let the Botox fool you, Dr. Robin.
Yeah. So anyhow, but my stepfather, who's still in my life, even though he got divorced my mother when I was 12, he said, why aren't you just not working for Dr. Yenny? Why are you opening your own place? And so I think it's worked out okay, but you just have to listen. So for everybody on the show today or listening afterwards, part of what I'm taking away today is you've got to get still. What do you call it again? Because you always have great words.
And still is it every day, my morning still.
And it could be in the evening, it could be in the afternoon. As you might imagine, I don't sit still very well, but I do listen. And
right.
that listening is that little nudge that says, you know what, you need to check on John Smith. Okay, what's going on with John? And then John will be like, oh my God, I'm glad you called me. And you just don't know. And so when you have a lot of trash in your heart, it's hard to hear. And so that's why it's important to plug into things that help support you. So we're going to start to wrap up the show. I'd love to hear your love you have for Kristen. Kristen, I have 2 more questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. What's one habit that you've been getting during the reset that you want to continue?
Asking for help. And that's massive for me because I am full-blown Capricorn, A-type, Enneagram 2. I can do everything by myself. I don't need anyone. Very independent, raised in the North. I got this, and I need help. And I had been fine. I'd been okay asking for help when I was paying for it. So before my husband was home, I have a sweet little sitter that I adore, and she would come over and that was fine. That's the way I could ask for it and justify it. But to be in a situation where that's not an option and to just say, I need 10 minutes, I need to be quiet. My husband lives on a bus with 12 dudes. He doesn't care about personal space and quiet time. That's his life. But I need a minute. And so to say, like, I need this time, asking for help has been really, really hard for me. I'm still not nailing it, but I'm trying. And I hope I never go back. Because the delegating, that's one thing I've learned from you. It's not about being weak that I don't want to do a lot of these things. It's just that I just need to give it over to the experts, you know?
Well, you got to stay in your lane. And that's probably my biggest gift from COVID is knowing what's my lane and what's not. And the affirmation I say to myself for every minute that I am not encouraging someone, it's, I could be helping somebody. You know, I get the calls like a lot of people get, you know, that you get about, you know, I'm thinking about ending my life, I'm struggling, whatever the case may be, but how do we really help that? And if I'm not encouraging people, then why am I on the planet? I'm not really here to, you know, I could mow the yard, but it's not really my lane, you know, and some people are great at that, you know. So I've loved our time together today. What's your medicine that you want to share with the world?
My medicine? I say this all the time, but I don't get commission if people become Christians, but I would encourage everyone to, I hate how Christianity, I use Christianity and hate in the same sentence. So that's how you know I'm a looser Christian. I really dislike how Christian people can make Christianity look. So what I love is the relationship that I have with God. What I love is the promises written in black and white for me that are protection and love and a lot of things that I didn't grow up getting. So that's my medicine. And I'd encourage anyone to, if they could, put all their Christians in a sifter and let the purity fall out. And a lot of those people wouldn't make it through. They would probably get stuck, and that's okay. Just to that you know Christianity to be. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I have a hard time with Joel Osteen's hair. It's very distracting to me, but I do like his words. So sometimes the filter for me is just listening to him and not watching him because it gets distracting. There's a big globe swirling around and I'm like, how is this in the Bible? Because I'm just a little confused. But it's like, I think the medicine would be for me is just to like strip everything down and really take the black and white of it. So whether that's the Bible, whether that's just the breath in your lungs, whether it's, you know, the gifts you've been given that you have a roof over your head or food to eat, or, you know, I have a husband who's temporarily unemployed and there's still some black and white gift in that too. So that's the medicine. Strip it down without the noise, without the clutter, and just see things for what they really are and pick it back up and look at it differently.
Well, we're all getting sifted right now. We're getting sifted, all of us, and what we see. And it's kind of like squeezing a lemon. If you get out orange juice, there's a problem.
Right.
So when you're being squeezed right now, are you getting loving? Are you getting loving and kindness and things like that? So what a great reminder and a great conversation today for me on many levels. But one, I get to see your beautiful face and say, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, the mother you are, the mother you're becoming. So I want to share with you a little bit. Our crew here knows how we like to wrap up. But for all those on the call, especially in Kansas City, Sean, you can give it to your family. But we're having a really fun, Ellen, I'm going to have you on mic and say what we're doing for Mother's Day this weekend in support with our friend Chef Tio from Belfry. So Eleanor, what do we have up our sleeve this weekend?
Okay. Hi, everyone. So Dr. Robin went ahead and we have 2 free quiches we're giving away from the Belfry. So on Facebook and Instagram, we have a question which we just asked Kristen, what is the medicine you share with the world? So you like it, you comment what your medicine is and what you think your mom's medicine is. And sorry, Umber is here. And then you just tag a friend. So we'll go until tomorrow afternoon, and we're just here to share the medicine and maybe win a free quiche.
Yeah, and it's not just a quiche. It's kind of a breakfast, the Mother's Day brunch breakfast from Chef Tio, who's a award-winning chef, James Beard award-winning chef, as a matter of fact. So thanks, Eleanor. I appreciate you. Thanks for all the back end stuff you're doing, for just allowing me to show up and have and basically have a conversation with a friend and make new friends as we're going along here. So I want to, Kristen, I want to give you some love. Let me find you back here. There you are, Dolly. I can see you. Have you had fun today?
Oh, I love this. I was just thinking, when you told me you were proud of me, it brought tears to my eyes. So just very emotional, but this has just been so good for me. The moments, I always say, like, what's meant for you will always find you. And I know there's variations of that quote, but I've just felt that to be a truth for so long. And it's so great when I can just take a time out and come do this and be plugged back in, because there's a lot of dirty diapers and a lot of snacks to be had just outside of that door. So you can just run over if you want to and take as much time as you'd like.
Well, great. Let's stay on afterwards. I'd love to blow love a kiss,
You need to see the crazies.
I would love to see them. So we'll stay on to that. But what I want to do is, some people have had some great words for you. And on my little notes, I thought of this when I was thinking about this program, is how you inspire me. But I want to tell you how you inspired people today. Mark says, concentrate on the message, not the messenger. And that's kind of what a preacher told him. And you just kind of reaffirm that about Joel. Sean, thanks for being vulnerable and open. Liz, a great conversation. Mark, about a lot of trash in your heart is hard to hear and listen to God. Donna says, thanks for the reminder to stop and listen. God will whisper. We just have to pause to hear it. So, and Sean, I love that, especially as you're at the Hoffman process in California, getting through a tough childhood is the reason we have faith. We made it through. Mm-hmm. We made it through, and we're changing it for the next generation of what's happening. It's part of the story of just coming closer. So you inspire me by the courage you have to share your faith. Not only when we're doing this conversation, but on social media. You encourage me by being able to share your pain about the loss of your baby. You encourage me by picking up the phone on a crazy day in January of 2016, where I'm like, you know what? I'm heading to Baltimore, and I'm coming through Nashville. And that's when love was born.
Like 48 hours old or something.
And so thank you for inviting me, and not just inviting me, but keep me in your life. So it's a special relationship. You are one of my children, and I'm so proud of you. And well done.
I'm honored to be loved by you. You love so fully and so big, and you're such a special, special person. My life is forever different and better because I have you. I love you so much.
Well, we'll give Allison and Tara a shout out for introducing us. So to all of you, thanks for joining in our conversation today. On Monday Motivation, we'll be with Dr. Patrick Porter. He's a PhD, and he has a technology called Brain Tap technology that is great for anxiety, great for sleep, great for different conditions. And it actually helped me in my journey almost 5 years ago when I had my accident. So love you, appreciate you, all of you. Have a great, happy Mother's Day. If you don't have any, if your mother's not on the planet still, mother yourself. Do something you really love. All right. Blessings to all of you.
I love you.
Love you too.